Well, hey there, everyone. It's good to see you guys again. It's good to be back. After a little hiatus, we're going to go back to Genesis chapter 39 today. And in Genesis chapter 39, we were there several weeks ago, back at the beginning of December. Now we're going to come back here again, and this time we're in Potiphar's house, and it's not about Joseph prospering, but it's about Joseph suffering. And we have again the story of the coat. Now, we had the coat story whenever Joseph was thrown into the pit and sold to the Ishmaelites. They took the coat from him, that coat of many colors, and they took it back to his father to sell their line. Now, he has a different coat on him. He has a coat of responsibility. So there in Genesis chapter 39, in verse 8, it says, and this is after Potiphar's wife says to him, well, she casts her eye on him, and she says, lie with me. And then Joseph, it says there in verse 8, it says, he refused. He said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house. He hath committed all that he hath to my hand. So there's a coat that he's wearing, and it's called the coat of authority. I'm sure that there probably was an actual physical garment that he had on, which described to everybody on that plantation, everybody in that house, everyone knew that he was the major domo. He was the guy because he wore that garment. And that garment is going to come into play because when his master's wife says, lie with me, and he refuses, he puts that authority in jeopardy because it's his word against hers, and of course she's the owner and he's the slave. So there's a power dynamic that's in play there that doesn't give Joseph any sort of hope. And she strips the coat from him, and then she's going to use it to sell her lie, just like the brothers sold their lie. But the point of the passage I want to get to today is that, there's always a Potiphar's wife. Now, Joseph actually faced a lady who kept after him, even after he said no. And there's always a Potiphar's wife in our life. Some sin, some temptation that even though we say no once, keeps coming back. We have to continue to say no. We have to continue to be obedient to the commandment of the Father because he wants us to walk in victory. And yet temptation and all the Potiphar's wives that are in our life want us to run away with them. Let's do this in secret. Let's take our fill of pleasure. Nobody's going to know. And so there are all these little things that pop up that tempt us to walk away from our obedience, to walk away from our responsibilities, to walk away from the things that God has called us to do. Yeah, and even in Potiphar's house, God had called Joseph to do that work because he is representing the Father. Now, he says to Potiphar's wife, well, hey, I'm not going to do this great sin against God. She didn't care about that. She had plenty of gods. She had gods galore in Egypt. And just pick one of them, But Joseph was being obedient to the God of his father. She was just being obedient to the God of self. She was selfish. She was concerned about only her wants, her pleasures. I'm sure she didn't have a need for it, but it was a pleasure she wanted to take. She wanted to take it from Joseph, and Joseph's a slave, so why shouldn't she be able to take it from him? She owns him. But Joseph said no. And he knew, I think he must have known, that in saying no, he jeopardized his authority in that house, because eventually there was going to be a conflict between his no and her yes. And even when that's the case, ladies and gentlemen, it is still our responsibility to say no to temptation and sin. I hope this finds you well. I hope you'll read up on Joseph and what happened there in Potiphar's house, Genesis chapter 39, and I'll see you again next week here on the Pastor's Letter. Bye.